going to start with our painting techniques. So the first thing you need to do is get a base color and paint in overpainting. This is going to need the longest amount of time to dry. The next thing is outline and fill in. This is where you're pretty much going to draw just a random whatever. And you're going to use a light color. You can use white, you can use yellow, gray if we have it, but I mean they suggest white and yellow. And this is where you're literally drawing what you are going to paint in. So instead of actually using a pencil to do that, you're going to use your paintbrush. So any mistake is a happy accident. You just make a part of your artwork. It also makes sure that we paint a lot faster and don't get really bogged down with the details. So I know you guys can't really see it right now, but it is on here. Alright, so then I'm going to wash out my paintbrush. Remember, when washing out your paintbrush, you hold the water bucket, you make sure it's all the way down, and you keep it in thing. You make sure you don't splash water firmly down, and you're not flicking. You're wiping it gently on the side, getting out a lot of the water. If your water is really dirty, you can always dump it out in the dump bucket and refill it with clean water. Make sure when you are refilling that you are using the clean water to refill, and that you are not dumping your dirty water in the clean water. Also, do not ever dump your water cups or your water buckets directly in there, because there's always paint that is still left in here. Use the extra pitcher to pour it in. Alright, so dry brush. We're going to start with dry brush. It's when you just have a tiny bit of paint on your paintbrush, almost nothing at all. And it's basically an overpainting. So I still have a lot of paint and a lot of water in here. So I'm going to tap it out a little bit. And it's where you almost don't see any. There we go. So that's dry brushing. I'm going to skip sponge for right this second, and we're going to move on to blending. So blending requires two colors. You're going to put one color down. You're going to wash out your paintbrush holding your water cup. Wipe it on the sides. And then pat it dry. Then you're going to get your second color over here. And then you're going to slowly blend the two together to make a new color. And I start by pretty much overlapping the two of them until, you see, it's almost like a range of values. I went from darkest to lightest, blending a smooth transition. Alright, and then brush your choice is figuring out how skinny, how big, about medium, what your paintbrush can actually do for you. Alright, going back to sponging. Sponging is when you take a color and you lightly paint on the sponge. You're not dumping it directly into the sponge. You're painting lightly the sponge, because you want to actually see that texture of the sponge. I don't have the whole thing covered perfectly, and that's exactly what I want. So when I tap it down, I'm getting a light texture. I'm not getting a full circle. And I'm not pushing down and twisting. I'm just lightly tapping. And this is really good to add like bushes and trees and stuff like that, and then layer it with other colors. Alright. And so now we can go back to filling in. So now that we have outlined it, and you know where you're going, you can then go in and you go over what you already outlined so you can't see that color, and you fill it in. Alright, so if you have any other questions, let us know, but that's what we're doing. Remember, when you outline and you fill in, you make sure you go over all of your previous color. Alright, any questions? Let us know.